What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. Moving on to Suns Pelicans. This game was crazy. The Suns just lit them up from the opening tip. They had 14 points in the first 2 minutes and 58 seconds, on pace for damn near a 60-point quarter. They were consistently getting the Pelicans in rotation. A lot of the same stuff that I've talked about with the Suns, where you just inevitably end up drawing in help, and then you're playing drive and kick basketball with just incredibly talented offensive players. The Pelicans were making a lot of mistakes early in this game. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant each got two wide open jumpers in the opening minutes. There was a Nurkic offensive rebound that got Devin Booker a wide open 15-footer. There was a play on the left wing where Herb Jones was prepping for a specific type of coverage and wasn't paying close enough attention to his man, Devin Booker, on this play. And Devin Booker got a wide open corner three just because he was a step late. KD got two wide open kickouts because his man got pulled into help situations. All four of these jumpers went in. That was a big part of, KD made one and missed the other. But like three of those four jumpers went in. They got into rhythm pretty quickly. They just kept leaving Devin Booker open after that. We talked about the two mistakes early, but Devin Booker's next three out of that he made came in a stack pick and roll situation. So stack pick and roll is when Devin Booker's coming off of the Nurkic ball screen. But as he's coming off of the Nurkic ball screen, Grayson Allen underneath the basket is coming up and back screening Nurkic's man so that he can get open on the roll. The way the Pelicans were guarding it was Zion Williamson was guarding Grayson Allen. And so what Herb Jones and Zion Williamson were doing is they were switching that Grayson Allen, Devin Booker element. So basically, Zion Williamson will have to split out and guard Devin Booker, and Herb Jones would essentially take Grayson Allen as he's flashing to the top of the key. And in both of these situations, Zion Williamson is closing out at Devin Booker, right? So it's a difficult defensive matchup for him just by the way the coverage is set up. They're basically pulling Zion into this ball screen situation, right? So Booker's next three came out of a stack pick and roll situation where Zion was supposed to switch out, but he was too late. Devin Booker made the three. They ran another stack pick and roll a few possessions later. This time Zion comes out hard. This was on the left side of the floor. Zion comes out hard, but it's a bad closeout. Devin Booker goes right by him and gets an easy layup. And by the way, this is one of the many reasons why I don't take the Pelicans very seriously as a playoff threat. Regardless of what the defensive numbers look like, their defensive front court is bad. And good offenses are going to find a way to score easily against them, just like the Suns did. There was another three in there on the left wing where they left Devin Booker wide open in transition where they just weren't matched up. There were tough shots in there too. Devin hit a step back three in the first quarter at the top of the key, but like he's in full rhythm at that point. There's not really much you can do to stop a player once he's that confident and in that kind of groove. So 4 minutes left in the first quarter. The Pels bench group comes in and they start, this is before the bench came in. 4 minutes left in the first quarter. The Pels are trying to slow down Devin Booker at this point. So they start blitzing it. As soon as they start blitzing Devin Booker, the Suns score 8 points immediately on the next three possessions. Eric Gordon, corner three in the right corner. Grayson Allen, corner three in the left corner. And then a Grayson Allen closeout opportunity from the left wing where he drives and gets a nasty dunk, like a posterizing dunk. So, like, no matter what they did, they were just in the blender. Late first quarter, the Pels bench group comes in, and I don't know how this happened, but somehow Zion Williamson drew the Devin Booker assignment in this bench group. Devin Booker took him through one simple flare screen and got another wide open three. We're not even 10 minutes into this game. Devin Booker has 19, and the Suns are up by 21 points, and the game is over. This was an unserious effort from the New Orleans Pelicans. Jusuf Nurkic was just ignoring Jonas Valanciunas and trolling the paint, which stopped Zion's dribble penetration and really bogged down their offense. Obviously, Brandon Ingram being out plays a factor there, right? The Pelicans are a statistically good defense. They're sixth in defensive rating on the season and fourth post All-Star break, but I don't actually think they can guard any of the good offenses in any sort of serious game. Their front court players can't guard in space. They kind of require a certain type of matchup for their wing defenders to be able to impact things enough for them to kind of hold down an elite defense. They need to be able to kind of like load up on a singular player. Anything that can really spread them out is going to put them in a lot of trouble. On the Suns front, it's no secret that they need Devin Booker to be at this level, to be where they need to be offensively. Devin Booker had been struggling coming back from the ankle injury, shooting just 48% from the field and 28% from three in the 10 games before last night, just 24 points per game as well. And you saw the offense struggle a little bit, particularly in the Oklahoma City game and the San Antonio game, even struggled a little bit against Denver. They just won that game. But they broke out in a big way in this game, and the Suns offense broke out with him. But the Suns have a absolute murderer's row here to end the season. Their next 7 games before we get into the playoffs are Cleveland, Minnesota, New Orleans again, who's going to want revenge, the Clippers twice, the Kings, and the Timberwolves. Now, I think the Suns are good enough to do well in a lot of those games. Also, just from personal experience, having rooted for the Lakers last year, urgency plays a major role here. Like, Cleveland doesn't have the urgency because they have a locked-in playoff spot that the Suns do. Minnesota doesn't have the urgency because they have a locked-in playoff spot that the Suns do. New Orleans, they're obviously still in some sort of vague threat to drop into the play-in, but they're in better position than most of these teams, right? So they're less threatened, right? The Clippers, obviously, same sort of thing. They want to play better basketball. They have some motivation, but they're not threatened the way that Phoenix is. Sacramento, that's going to be a tough game, but Sacramento obviously is down 2 of their most important players. And then the Minnesota Timberwolves, same thing. Like at the end of the season, just like they play them earlier in the stretch as well, but same sort of thing, not really jockeying for position. So they have a huge urgency advantage in a lot of these games. So I actually, if I had to guess on a team dropping down into the 9-10 and letting the Lakers pass, I actually think it's more likely that it ends up being Sacramento than Phoenix, because Sacramento has the same type of urgency, but they've got also a tough schedule and they're missing some important players. I think the Suns are really freaking good. And I think when they play that hard and they bring that level of urgency, it's really tough to beat them. All right, moving on to our mailbag. So the context for this first question, I had an opportunity at the end of the show, or at the end of the Mavs segment yesterday, to talk about where I'd rank them in the Western Conference. And I made the case that all of the teams that are in that tier, so like the Suns, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Thunder, and the Timberwolves, all those teams are more or less just as formidable. And so I don't think Dallas has done anything to separate from that group. So that's the context of this first question. Here's the question. The case for the Mavs in a tier of their own in the West below Denver is Luka. He's the only player who has a chance shot for shot with Jokic late in a game. And when Luka isn't giving you tough, unstoppable buckets, Kyrie is. Suns come close to that firepower, but it's not the same. Respectfully, I disagree. I think all of these teams, except if there's one team that you could say Luka is just clearly better than the Stars by a wide margin and it's not close, it's Luka's better than Anthony Edwards, right? And even then, Anthony Edwards could break out any one of these postseason runs and enter into that tier, right? But obviously with Luka and Kyrie, the star power is just better. But like the Suns have Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. Devin Booker just had 52 last night. Like, I'm sorry, but there's not a tangible gap between Luka and Kyrie and KD, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. On the Clippers front, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and James Harden. On the Lakers front, LeBron James and Anthony Davis and all their skill that they have on the perimeter. Oklahoma City, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams. Like you could argue that Luka is the best player in that group. I think it's probably him and Kawhi in terms of playoff players, and I'd probably give a slight edge to Luka. So I agree with you that Luka's probably the best, but there's not a sizable star power gap between any of those guys and in the Luka Kyrie duo. Not anything that's worth really mentioning. There's probably a small gap there, but nothing that's really going to be substantial when you get to the postseason. So again, really like Dallas, playing the best basketball right now, which is a huge indicator of their potential playoff success. But I push back on the idea that they're just superior to all of the teams in that tier.